Welcome back, students. This is an initiative of the Department of Higher Education, Government of Goa, for developing e-content learning in the subject of economics. This subject is the Indian Monetary and Financial System. Course code is CC16 for the 5th semester. Under the unit Financial System and its components, we are continuing with the module Overview of the Indian Financial System. I am Ms. P.S. Devi, Assistant Professor from Saraswat Vidyalayas Sridhara Kakulo College. In this module, we will be covering banking institutions which include scheduled commercial banks, scheduled cooperative banks. We will also be looking at non-banking institutions which include non-banking finance companies and development financial institutions. And finally, we will be looking at some of the financial instruments that are traded in the Indian financial system. This tree diagram shows the hierarchy of the banking institutions in the Indian financial system that looks at banking institutions only. At the apex, we have the Reserve Bank of India, which controls the scheduled banks. Scheduled banks are in turn divided into scheduled commercial banks and scheduled cooperative banks. Under scheduled commercial banks, we have the public sector banks, the private sector banks, foreign banks, and regional rural banks. The scheduled cooperative banks, on the other hand, are divided into the urban cooperative banks and the state cooperative banks. We will now look at the Reserve Bank of India. RBI is the apex institution in the banking system. Its main functions consist of financial supervision. It regulates and supervises the financial system. It also issues currency. The RBI has the sole right to issue banknotes of all denominations. It is the banker and debt manager to the government. It acts as banker, agent, and advisor to the government. It helps the government to float new loans as well as to manage the public debt. In the next function, the RBI manages foreign exchange. It acts as the custodian of India's reserves of international currencies. RBI is also known as the banker's bank. Every scheduled bank maintains cash reserves with RBI as stipulated. Banks can borrow from RBI on the basis of eligible securities and get financial accommodation in times of need by rediscounting bills of exchange. In addition to its traditional functions, the RBI also acts as the regulator of the banking system. The RBI has certain supervisory functions which include supervision of banks and promotion of sound banking in the country. Next, we go to the scheduled commercial banks. Scheduled commercial banks include all the banks that are included in the second schedule of the RBI Act of 1934. It has a minimum paid-up capital of Rs 5 lakhs and it conducts its activities in a manner that does not harm the interests of the depositors. It is eligible for loans from the RBI at the bank rate. Banks that are not included in this schedule are also called the non-scheduled banks. Under scheduled commercial banks, we have the public sector banks, the private sector banks, foreign banks, and regional rural banks. The public sector banks are also referred to as nationalized banks. Bank nationalization was undertaken to better serve the needs of development of the economy in conformity with national policy and objectives. In case of private sector banks, most of the money is held in private hands. The old private banks existed at the time of nationalization, but were not nationalized either because of their small size or for some other reason. After banking reforms, they received license to continue their banking operations and have existed along with new private banks and public banks. A foreign bank is a type of international bank that is obliged to follow the regulations of both the home as well as the host countries. In India, they are present either as representative offices or as branches. They generally meet the credit requirements of multinational corporate clients. And finally, we have the regional rural banks under scheduled commercial banks. These were set up primarily to develop the rural economy by providing credit and other facilities for agriculture, trade, commerce, industry, and other productive activities in the rural areas. Next, we come to scheduled cooperative banks. Scheduled cooperative banks consist of scheduled urban cooperative banks and scheduled state cooperative banks. Scheduled urban cooperative banks refer to primary cooperative banks that are set up in urban areas and semi-urban areas. They generally lend to small businesses and borrowers. On the other hand, state cooperative banks are the apex banks in the three-tier cooperative structure in India. It serves as an important link between the Indian money market and the cooperative sector. It also coordinates the activities of primary agricultural credit societies or PACs and central cooperative banks or CCBs. The next classification is of non-banking institutions. This includes the non-banking finance companies and the development financial institutions. We will first look at NBFCs or the non-banking finance companies. NBFCs raise finance from various sources and provide medium-term and long-term finance. They include insurance companies, pension funds, and provident funds. They mobilize funds and invest them in government securities and other approved securities. NBFCs provide certain bank-like and financial services, but they do not hold a banking license. They are not subject to banking regulations and oversight by central and state authorities, like in the case of traditional banks. NBFCs are registered under the Companies Act 1956 and are engaged in the business of loans and advances, acquisition of shares and securities, leasing, hire purchase, insurance, and chit business. Next, we have the development financial institutions. The government set up development financial institutions soon after independence to be of special help to private sector industries in the matter of finance. They provide term finance and promote entrepreneurship. They provide both loan and equity capital. They give advisory and promotional services, thus offering a blend of financial and advisory services. And finally, we come to the financial instruments that are traded in the financial system in India. Financial instruments are assets that can be traded. They provide for the efficient flow and transfer of capital. They include cash instruments, derivative instruments, debt-based financial instruments, and equity-based financial instruments. Cash instruments. The value of cash instruments are directly influenced and determined by markets. These can be easily transferred. Next, we have the derivative instruments. The value of these instruments are based on the underlying components such as assets, interest rates, or indices. These can be over-the-counter derivatives or exchange-traded derivatives. Thirdly, we have the debt-based financial instruments. These last for 1 year or less. Securities of this kind come in the form of treasury bills or commercial papers. Cash of this kind can be deposits and certificates of deposit. Then we have equities, bonds, and mutual funds. Equities represent ownership of a company. They are traded in stock exchange and can also be purchased through initial public offerings. Though subject to market-related risks, equities can bring good returns over an extended period when properly researched. The next is mutual funds. Mutual funds are highly rated because the initial investment amount is very low and the risk is diversified. Mutual funds allow a group of individuals to invest their money together. With professional management and sound regulation, it is a cost-effective and risk-diversified avenue of investment. And lastly, we have bonds. Bonds are fixed income instruments which are issued to raise working capital. Both private sector entities and government institutions issue bonds to raise funds. Government bonds carry lower risks, but they give guaranteed returns, whereas bonds issued by the private sector carry high risks. Thus, in conclusion, we can see that in the financial system, on the one hand, we have a group of people, companies, government, etc. with surplus funds, and they are the lenders in the financial system. On the other hand, there are a group of institutions, governments again, and individuals who have a deficit of funds. The financial system consists of institutions, markets, and instruments which bring the borrowers and lenders together so that the surplus funds reach the party with the deficit funds and there is easy flow of funds and capital from the lenders to the borrowers. Thank you.